Friends, stop scrolling for a moment and stay with me because something significant has just happened in this conflict, and it could reshape how the next phase of the war unfolds. For days, we have been watching missile launches, airstrikes, and retaliatory attacks escalate across the region. But today, a statement from the United States military suggests that the balance of this confrontation may have shifted dramatically. According to the latest briefing from U.S. Central Command, Iranian missile attacks have dropped by nearly 90% after a series of B-2 bomber strikes targeting underground launch infrastructure. That number alone demands attention. A 90% reduction in missile launches is not a minor battlefield adjustment. It suggests that something fundamental inside Iran's strike capability has been disrupted. Admiral Brad Cooper, the CENTCOM commander overseeing U.S. operations in the region, explained during a press conference that stealth B-2 bombers were used to target deeply buried ballistic missile facilities. These facilities were not simple surface launch pads. Many of them were reportedly hidden inside reinforced underground complexes designed specifically to survive conventional air attacks. To understand why this matters, we need to look at how Iran's missile system is structured. Over the past 2 decades, Iran invested heavily in building what analysts often call a layered missile architecture. Instead of relying on a few large bases, the program spread launch capability across numerous locations. Some missiles are stored in hardened bunkers. Others are kept in tunnels carved into mountainsides. Still others are mounted on mobile launch vehicles capable of moving quickly after firing. The goal of this system is survivability. Even if several sites are destroyed, others can continue operating. This strategy makes missile forces extremely difficult to eliminate. Aircraft may destroy visible launchers, but hidden infrastructure often remains intact. That is why military planners rely on specialized weapons capable of penetrating deep into the ground before detonating. In this case, US B-2 bombers reportedly delivered multiple 2,000-pound bunker-penetrating bombs designed to collapse underground structures and disable launch systems buried beneath layers of rock and concrete. The B-2 Spirit bomber itself plays a unique role in modern warfare. Unlike traditional bombers, the B-2 is built with stealth technology that allows it to evade many radar systems. Its distinctive flying wing design reduces radar reflections, enabling it to approach heavily defended targets without being easily detected. Because of this capability, the aircraft is often used for missions against hardened or high-value installations that require both precision and survivability. When a B-2 mission is launched, it typically involves an elaborate sequence of planning and coordination. Intelligence analysts first identify potential targets using satellite imagery, electronic surveillance, and other reconnaissance tools. Once targets are confirmed, mission planners calculate the safest routes for the aircraft to approach the objective while avoiding air defense systems. Tanker aircraft provide aerial refueling so the bomber can travel enormous distances without landing. The result is a strike platform capable of reaching nearly any location on the planet. According to the CENTCOM briefing, several B-2 missions were conducted against Iranian missile infrastructure over the past 48 hours. Dozens of bunker-penetrating bombs were used to strike launch tunnels, storage chambers, and support facilities connected to ballistic missile units. Admiral Cooper stated that these strikes severely degraded Iran's ability to coordinate large-scale missile launches. Surveillance data collected after the attacks indicates that missile activity dropped dramatically in the hours that followed. Another target reportedly struck during the operation was a vessel described by U.S. officials as a drone carrier ship used to deploy unmanned aerial systems. Satellite images released shortly after the strike showed the ship burning in coastal waters, suggesting that it had been heavily damaged. Drones have become a central component of Iran's military strategy in recent years, allowing relatively inexpensive aircraft to conduct surveillance and attacks over long distances. Removing platforms capable of launching large numbers of drones can significantly reduce pressure on regional defenses. The decline in missile launches has immediate strategic implications. Over the past week, Iranian missile barrages have placed heavy stress on regional missile defense systems. Interceptor systems like Israel's Arrow and David's Sling or American Patriot batteries rely on a limited number of defensive missiles. When dozens or hundreds of projectiles arrive simultaneously, defense systems must calculate which threats pose the greatest risk and intercept them accordingly. Reducing the number of incoming missiles makes defense much more manageable. However, analysts caution that a drop in launches does not necessarily mean Iran's missile program has been permanently dismantled. Large military systems rarely disappear overnight. Even if major facilities are destroyed, equipment may still exist in hidden locations. Mobile launchers can relocate quickly, and underground networks sometimes extend far beyond the areas initially identified by intelligence agencies. What the strikes appear to have accomplished is the disruption of coordinated launch operations, not necessarily the elimination of every remaining missile. Another important factor to consider is the psychological dimension of such strikes. Military campaigns are not fought only with weapons, they are also contests of perception. When one side demonstrates the ability to reach deeply buried targets that were previously considered secure, it sends a powerful message about capability and reach. That message influences not only military commanders but also political leaders deciding how to respond. For Iran, the destruction of underground missile facilities could force a reassessment of tactics. Instead of launching large, coordinated barrages, commanders might shift towards smaller, more sporadic attacks designed to preserve remaining assets. They may rely more heavily on drones or proxy forces operating outside Iranian territory. These adjustments could reduce immediate missile threats while prolonging the overall conflict. For the United States and its partners, the apparent success of the B-2 strike strengthens the argument that precision operations can significantly degrade adversary capabilities. Defense officials often describe such campaigns as efforts to shape the battlefield rather than end the conflict outright. By reducing missile threats, coalition forces gain greater freedom to conduct surveillance, protect regional bases, and support allied defenses. The regional response to these developments has been closely watched. Governments across the Middle East monitor shifts in military balance carefully because they influence strategic calculations. Countries that host U.S. bases or cooperate with American security initiatives must assess how the conflict might affect their own security. At the same time, they consider diplomatic channels that might prevent further escalation. Energy markets also reacted to the news. Missile attacks on infrastructure or shipping lanes can disrupt oil supply routes, causing rapid price fluctuations. When reports emerged that missile launches had decreased significantly, some analysts interpreted the development as a potential stabilization signal. Energy traders often respond quickly to such signals because expectations about future supply influence prices immediately, yet uncertainty remains high. The Middle East has experienced many moments when conflicts appeared to slow only to intensify again later. Military analysts emphasize that strategic campaigns unfold over weeks or months, not hours. One successful strike does not necessarily determine the outcome of an entire conflict. To appreciate the scale of what has happened, consider the effort required to maintain missile operations under pressure. Launch crews must move equipment, fuel missiles, coordinate targeting data, and communicate with command centers. Each of these steps creates opportunities for surveillance systems to detect activity. Once detected, aircraft or drones can be directed toward the location. Destroying the facilities that support these steps makes it much harder for missile units to operate effectively. The technology behind bunker-penetrating bombs also plays a crucial role. Unlike conventional bombs that detonate on impact, bunker buster munitions are designed to penetrate several meters of reinforced concrete or rock before exploding. This allows the blast to occur inside underground chambers where critical equipment may be located. The shockwave created inside confined spaces can collapse tunnels, destroy launch platforms, and render facilities unusable even if the outer structure remains partially intact. Because underground missile bases are often built in mountainous regions, targeting them requires extremely accurate intelligence. Satellite images must identify entrances, ventilation shafts, and support structures that indicate where launch systems are located. Once those points are identified, pilots must deliver munitions with precise timing and positioning. The success reported in today's briefing suggests that intelligence agencies spent considerable effort mapping these locations before the operation began. Beyond the immediate military implications, the strikes also illustrate how modern conflicts combine multiple forms of warfare. Air power, intelligence gathering, electronic surveillance, and economic pressure all operate simultaneously. Each element influences the others. For example, reducing missile threats may allow surveillance aircraft to fly more safely, which in turn improves intelligence about remaining capabilities. Political leaders must also consider the broader diplomatic environment. Statements released after the strikes emphasized that the operations were intended to reduce threats and protect regional stability. At the same time, other governments called for restraint and renewed diplomatic engagement. Such statements reflect the delicate balance between military objectives and international concerns about escalation. Inside Iran, the impact of the strikes is likely being assessed carefully by military planners. Repairing damaged facilities, relocating equipment, and maintaining morale among personnel are all challenges during wartime. Public statements from Iranian officials have downplayed the damage while emphasizing their ability to continue resisting external pressure. This is a common feature of conflicts, where both sides attempt to control the narrative presented to domestic audiences. From a strategic perspective, the coming days will reveal whether the reduction in missile attacks is sustained. Intelligence agencies will monitor launch sites, transportation routes, and communication signals for signs of renewed activity. If missile launches remain limited, it could indicate that the strikes achieved long-lasting disruption. If activity resumes at higher levels, it would suggest that additional infrastructure remains intact. Military planners often describe such campaigns as a process of attrition. Each strike removes a portion of the adversary's capability, gradually reducing its effectiveness. However, the pace of attrition depends on how quickly the targeted side can adapt. In some conflicts, damaged infrastructure is replaced rapidly, while in others, the loss of specialized equipment creates long-term limitations. Another element to watch is the role of allied and proxy forces across the region. Even if missile launches from Iranian territory decrease, other groups may attempt to continue pressure through rocket attacks, drone strikes, or cyber operations. This networked approach to conflict allows pressure to be applied from multiple directions, complicating defensive planning. For now, the most immediate takeaway from today's announcement is that the B-2 strikes appear to have significantly disrupted one of the most visible threats in the conflict: ballistic missile launches. A 90% drop in attacks represents a dramatic change in operational tempo. Whether that change holds will depend on the next moves made by both sides. What we are witnessing is a reminder of how rapidly military dynamics can shift during modern conflicts. Technology, intelligence, and strategy combine in ways that can transform the battlefield in a matter of hours. A system that seemed unstoppable yesterday may suddenly face severe limitations tomorrow. As new information continues to emerge, analysts, governments, and observers around the world will be studying the results of these strikes carefully. They will look for indicators of recovery, signs of further escalation, or opportunities for diplomatic engagement. Each new development will add another piece to a complex and evolving strategic puzzle. For those following the situation closely, today's briefing marks one of the most significant updates since the conflict began. A dramatic reduction in missile attacks changes the immediate threat environment and may influence the direction of operations in the days ahead. But it also raises new questions about how the conflict will evolve and what steps might come next. Let me know what you think. Do you believe the B-2 strikes have fundamentally changed the balance of this conflict, or could missile activity surge again if Iran reorganizes its forces? Share your perspective in the comments. If you want more in-depth updates and analysis on developments like this, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for the next briefing as new information becomes available.